Welcome, everyone. So I'm not ready to take down the decorations for the Master IEP Coach graduation that happened yesterday. We all need a little cheer, right? So I wanted to share with you a replay that's available for you. So I just did an online workshop about how to prep for a virtual IEP meeting. For those of you that don't know, I've been attending virtual IEP meetings for a really long time. Like back before they had video conferencing and I just had to attend by phone. So I shared with a group of about 200 parents, teachers, admins, and therapists some of the strategies that I use that are often forgotten to make a virtual IEP meeting awesome. So let me share with you two of those tips, but you can get the full replay at the link that's either above or below this video, wherever you're watching it. So you can get the full replay of how to prep for a virtual IEP meeting right at that link. But here's two things. So the first one is that you have to make sure that the prep work that you're doing for the IEP meeting really is simplified when it comes to sharing between team members. So let me give you a specific examples. We all know what IEP goal sheets look like, right? So they're present levels, and then we have an annual goal, and we usually have some curriculum standards, and we've got all these objectives on how to, get from point A to point B, and it's a lot. It's a lot. But when we're prepping for a virtual IEP meeting, we have to take away a lot of that jargon and kind of formality of that prep paperwork that we're sharing, because we need to make sure that everybody understands what we're doing when it comes to the IEP goals, especially the parent. So basically, when you're sharing IEP goals before the IEP meeting, sure, you might share the whole formal page, but having a bullet point outline of here's the present level, here's the annual goal, and here's objectives of how we're going to get there. Here's where we're starting. Here's where we're going. Here's how we're going to get there. So super easy. And it really clarifies, instead of sitting virtually like we would at the table where say, the child can blah, 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 and here's the data. And then according to state standards, and the annual goal is for 8 out of 10 times to, okay? There's a lot of words in there. And when you're doing a virtual IEP meeting, you have to really simplify. So that's one strategy. The other strategy that I have for you when you're prepping for a virtual IEP meeting is to make sure that the parent input statement is stronger than ever. And here's the thing, no matter where you're located in the country, there's some section on the IEP document that says parent educational concerns or parent input or parent vision statement. It says parent something, okay? That is not a dumping ground for parent complaints. That is a place where a parent can set the vision for what their child can learn going forward. So here's an example that I'll give you from my own family, all right? You guys know I'm a special needs sibling. I have a brother who's 42 with Down syndrome. And there was a time when my parents were told that he wasn't going to read or write or hold a meaningful job or reach these different expectations that my parents had. They absolutely had this vision for my brother. And my mom had to communicate in a way that helped the team understand what they needed to be working towards, because that was part of our family values of having these high expectations and to have a certain goals. And meaningful education was one of them. Now, how my mom communicated it and what it looked like in the IEP, I don't know. I was a kid, okay? But I became a special education teacher, and I found this part of the IEP. And don't think that they teach us this in school, because they don't. I have the Master IEP Coach program where I have a lot of teachers and admins come and join me. And they say, how come they didn't teach us this in school? And I said, I don't know. Why didn't they teach us this? But I can tell you, as a special needs sibling, I knew if mom was not happy, nobody's happy. So I made sure I saw that section on the IEP, and I was like, I'm going to make this part awesome. So I would talk to the parents about what do they see? What do they want? Social, emotional, self-regulation, communication, academics, transition planning, all of these things I would talk to parents about. And I'd say, okay, Now, I had a second grade class. I'd say, okay, so as a second grader, if you want your child to have meaningful employment, there's some things that we need to be able to figure out, right? Like how to follow directions, maybe written directions, verbal directions, 1-step direction, 2-step directions, 3-step direction. I don't know. We got to find out. We got to find out where's this child at when it comes to following directions, because any job you get, you have to follow directions, right? Or I would say, all right, so you see your child being able to be independent in the morning in their routine. What can't they do at home? And I would see where was the parent struggling, and then I would figure out, well, how can I replicate some of those things at school? So things like, okay, so they get ready in the morning, and then they have to wait by the door until it's time to go out to the car. All right. But the child runs out, doesn't wait for mom. And it's a safety issue and they can't have that. Well, guess what? In my classroom, you have to go wait by the door before you can go out in the hallway, because that's an issue. I can't just have kids run in the hallways, right? So that was something I could work on at school that could then be generalized to home. That's a big deal. So parent input statements are so important every day, and even more so now. You know, we've got school shut down and kids home 24/7. I'm going to tell you right now, parents are very well aware of what they need their child to be able to do to make life easier, to make them more independent. Teams, this is your time to lean in and listen and create a parent input statement that is amazing. All right. So those 2 tips about how to really create IEP goals that make sense and how to create a parent input statement, plus many, many other things. In fact, like my number one thing of how I make sure that a parent is heard at a virtual IEP meeting. And believe me, teams, you want parents to be heard at a virtual IEP meeting, because what you don't want is everybody to click out of that meeting or hang up the phone and the parent to go, I don't know if that went very well. All right. You need to make sure that everybody at that table is heard, especially the parent. Parents, if this is you that's listening, you need to find out what that one thing is that I make sure that every parent has at every virtual IEP meeting that I've been at, so you can make sure that your voice is heard. So hop on over to that link, get instant access to watch the replay of the virtual IEP prep meeting that I just held. And then right there, there's 2 options for how we can connect further. And I cannot wait to connect with you and figure out what else you need to make these virtual IEP meetings work. Because here's the thing. If you do not take a virtual IEP meeting and you're thinking, no, I'm going to wait till I get back to school, the noise and commotion that's going to be in our system when we get back to school is going to be overwhelming. And every IEP meeting that has to take place in person when we get back is more time that a teacher is going to spend out of the classroom. We're already missing classroom time, instructional time. We're missing that routine. And now there's going to be people lining up for IEP meetings because they got missed during this time, instead of just taking the virtual option and getting a ton done. It's absolutely possible. So go grab the replay. It's like almost an hour because we did Q&A. So like you can play it and then you can take some notes while you multitask. You totally can. It's all right. All right. So go get the replay of that and then come find me if you have questions, and I'll talk to you guys soon.